Alright, so I have connection, network. Want to document that I didn't put these things into the trash. This is a file I downloaded from my drive. Grammarly was something I downloaded, I don't know, beginning of the year. But now this thing, whatever it is, it's in my trash. I don't know what it is. This here I did not drop into my trash. Right. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm gonna go to Safari now, and I'm gonna search for that's my recording. Gitkraken. One 162 degrees. I have a 10 gig download speed. Ten gig per second download speed. I'm sorry, that's wrong. 1 gig, not 10. 1. So 1 gig download speed and 32 upload. Alright, and that should be going faster than it actually is going. The download should be much faster. 160 degrees.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise on a point of personal privilege. MPs were met with a stellar announcement as they returned from summer break. A Liberal MP told them she was crossing the floor to join the Conservative opposition. Leona Ellislett, the member for Aurora Oak Ridge's Richmond Hill, broke the news before her colleagues in the House. Karina Roman reports. I must withdraw from the government benches to take my seat among the ranks of my Conservative colleagues and join Her Majesty's loyal opposition. Leona Alislove says under Trudeau, Canada's economy, military, and international reputation is suffering. She says she was met with silence when she raised her concerns with her now former Liberal Party. And for me to publicly criticize the government as a Liberal would undermine the government. Alislove is a former Air Force captain. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer is making her critic for global security in his shadow cabinet. Leona's perspective and expertise will be extremely valuable. As a Liberal, Alislove won her riding by a little more than 1,000 votes. Provincially, Conservatives took the riding convincingly in the last Ontario election, but Alislove says that had no bearing on her decision. Karina Roman, CBC News, Ottawa. Floodwaters turned roads into raging rivers in some areas of North Carolina. The state's governor says there are now 17 confirmed deaths directly related to Hurricane Florence and the tropical storm it became. And Roy Cooper says the crisis continues. In many parts of North Carolina, the danger is still immediate. Floodwaters are rising as rivers crest, and they will for days. Now to the Philippines, where recovery efforts continue to locate the bodies of dozens of gold miners buried in a landslide triggered by Typhoon Mangkhut. The deaths are shining a spotlight on the dangerous and illegal business of small-scale strip mining. The country's president says it is time to close it down. It has not contributed anything substantial to the national economy. Rodrigo Duterte says the practice brought nothing but heartache to his country, and he says the mines leave behind a devastated and polluted landscape, which only increases the likelihood of landslides. President Donald Trump says a little delay may be needed in the confirmation vote of his Supreme Court pick. Trump says he wants a full process to investigate sexual assault claims against Brett Kavanaugh. The accusations date back to the early 80s, and Kavanaugh has denied any wrongdoing. Police in British Columbia have laid charges in the death of a young Belgian hitchhiker. The body of Amélie Sakalis was found August 22nd near Boston Bar. 27-year-old Sean Ryan McKenzie is now charged with first-degree murder. Police say he had no criminal record. Investigators say McKenzie traveled the province extensively, so they've released his photo in the hopes that people can provide more details about his movements. New numbers show Canada's real estate market is gaining steam in many parts of the country. Nationally, home sales were up nearly 1% in August, bringing sales prices along with them. Our Aaron Collins has the details. The average price of a home in Canada is now a hair above $475,000, about 1% higher than a year ago. Good news as large segments of the Canadian market bounce back from changes made to mortgage rules in the new year. Changes that made it harder for some buyers to qualify for a home loan. Rishi Sandhi is an economist with TD Economics.
So that sent some buyers on the sidelines there, and generally held back activity for 4 months or so. So we're starting to see markets sort of shake off that impact.
Now, prices were higher across much of the country except on the prairies, where they continued to slide. Saskatchewan saw the biggest drop of more than 4%, while neighboring Alberta saw prices decrease more than 2%. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
And that is your world this hour. You can listen to us live on your mobile device using the CBC radio app. For CBC News, I'm Tom Holmes.
Thank you, Tom. I'm Jill Deacon. 26 degrees is the temperature in the city. Feels like 34 with the humidex as we kick off the final week of summer. Feeling like summer. You're listening to Here and Now. The creams and powders and chemicals that you use to keep your house clean might be having a surprisingly dirty effect on your kids. House Dr. Brian Goldman says they might be making them overweight. Waiter, there's a fly in my soup. That old joke has a new punchline at a North York restaurant where the waiters are robots. And an ultra-marathon runner made international news for breastfeeding her baby midway through her race, her 105-mile race. Why the furor over a young mother being fast and fit? I know, pause for a moment to reflect on chemicals making kids fat, robots being your waiters, and running 105 miles ever. That's a lot to process. I'm just going to give you a minute to let that all soak in. And it's all coming your way in this final hour of Here and Now. So, Amber, how are things moving in the meantime?
Well, unfortunately, there's a new problem now. It's on the 401 eastbound 401 in the collectors east of the Allen. There's been a vehicle fire. There is a vehicle fire. The right lane is blocked here by emergency crews. The vehicle that's on fire is on the shoulder. And some better news, although I believe it is still closed, southbound on the 404 from Davis Drive to Wellington. It sounds like that the crews have cleared out of the way and things should reopen very soon.
Screen sharing.
Thank you, Amber. And Ms. Colette Kennedy, what have you got to tell us about this pretty sweet day?
Yeah.
Very summery day.
All good stuff. 26 degrees out there. As you mentioned, we have a humidex. Feels more like 33 to 34 out there. A nice evening ahead of us. Quiet conditions. The temperature dropping back only a tiny bit, so we'll say 25. And that's around 8 p.m. And then as we go into the overnight hours, a low of 19. Some patchy fog is possible again. We've really been seeing this pattern over the last few days. And that's just with these light winds that we're seeing. So that's a risk. Otherwise, clear skies. And into Tuesday, a high of 28, feeling like 33. Kind of a mix of sun and cloud in the morning and a little more sunshine into the afternoon, Joe.
Thank you, Colette. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy back with more details on your summery forecast and its eventual demise. Yes, all good things must come to an end, including summer weather. She'll be back with more in about half an hour's time, just after the 5:30 news. Julia Chapman, what's coming up?
Well, there was a rare midnight sitting for MPPs at Queen's Park today. It was Premier Doug Ford's effort to get his legislation to slash the size of Toronto City Council passed as soon as possible. You might remember it was 1 week ago that a judge ruled that a previous version of that bill was unconstitutional. That's because of the close timing to the municipal election. Our provincial affairs reporter Mike Crawley has more on that story coming up in the news. And police in Toronto are still looking for a
161
suspect
degrees.
called Barry, who allegedly jumped on a GO train this morning to the city. We'll have that story coming up as well.
All right, we'll be listening for that and lots more coming your way in your next regional newscast at the bottom of the clock, about 22 minutes from now. Close to a third of Canadian children and teens are overweight or obese, that according to Statistics Canada. Overeating, not enough exercise are two risk factors behind that statistic. But a study published earlier today in the Canadian Medical Association journal zeroes in on a strange new culprit who could be found underneath your sink. Host Dr. Brian Goldman has been looking into this. Tell me what is under the sink that could be making children overweight.
Well, it may not even be under the sink, because we're not sure that babies venture underneath the sink, but certainly in their immediate environment, and that is everyday household cleaners. And this is the finding in a study by researchers from across Canada. They looked at data from the Canadian Healthy Infant Longitudinal Development Study, the CHILD study. This is a long-term look at 3,500 children that aims to predict, prevent, and treat chronic diseases. So what the researchers did was compare infants at 3 to 4 months of age who lived in households where those multi-surface consumer household cleaning products were used at least once a week or more, and compared those infants to households that use cleaning products less often. And then, so they took a snapshot at age 3 to 4 months, and then they looked again at these infants at 3 years. And what they found is that the kids who lived in households where disinfectants were used at least once a week, if not more, had a higher body mass index
than the infants whose households weren't cleaned quite as often. A statistically significant result.
Is this about the frequency of things being cleaned, or is this about the chemical ingredient? I mean, I clean my house with baking soda and vinegar. I'm just wondering if that's...
Then as you're going to find out, you're okay.
Okay,
you're
so
okay.
tell me what it is about these household cleansers then that might be connected to obesity.
So there's a few steps here, so I'm going to have to break it down. Household disinfectants, of course, kill germs that live on surfaces in the baby's environment. Somehow the close proximity of those cleansers had an impact on the bacteria in the baby's environment and also inside the baby's intestines. How did they know? They checked. They checked the poop, the feces of these infants, and what they discovered, a few really interesting discoveries, that infants aged 3 to 4 months who lived in households that were cleaned excessively had lower levels of two bacteria, Haemophilus and Clostridium, and higher levels of a germ called Lactobacilli. And in fact, the more often the household used cleansers, the higher the level of Lactobacilli. Now, for you, I'm going to jump ahead, and many others. I'm going to jump ahead and say that where eco-friendly cleaning products were used, the babies didn't end up obese or overweight. They had a different profile of bacteria, and we'll get to that in just a second. Okay. But let's get back to the story of cleaning products and obesity. Well, the researchers, as I said, they checked the poop for bacteria, and they found out that they had this particular Lactobacilli. Now, for a while, researchers have been studying a possible link between obesity and having certain bacteria in your intestines. Bacteria found in our intestines are made up of hundreds of genes. Those genes produce amino acids. The amino acids can be measured in your bloodstream. So now you've got two smoking guns. You've got bacteria that you can identify in the intestines. You've got amino acids that can be identified in the bloodstream. It turns out that those amino acids play havoc with the child's metabolism, and that's how they gain weight. And it may not be a function of solely of the amino acids, but which amino acids, but when they appear. So timing may be everything. It may be setting the baby up for a lifetime of obesity.
This sounds, I mean, it sounds from everything you're saying as wildly bizarre as people may see that correlation.
Yeah.
It sounds plausible. Scientifically, medically, you're describing something quite plausible.
It is plausible, and in fact, this is just one piece of evidence in the study of what researchers refer to as the microbiome, the bacteria that we live with, that we can't see, but we live with them. They're on our skin, they're in the birth canal, they're in the intestines, and they're in other parts of the body. And we know that exposure to germs during infancy may be important to the development of the immune system and programming the body's metabolism, timing being very important there. Previous studies have found higher rates of obesity in piglets that live in environments that are cleaned more often. Babies born by cesarean section are more likely to be overweight or obese compared to babies who are born through the birth canal. And so the theory is that passing through the birth canal, the baby gets all kinds of germs that are valuable to their survival. And this is maybe a long-term evolutionary benefit. And it's not just obesity. Researchers are looking at the role bacteria play in many other diseases: bladder infections, kidney stones, Crohn's disease, colitis, diabetes, heart attacks, and liver diseases. Maybe fatty liver, maybe cirrhosis, even liver cancer. And this is all part of some very serious research.
Are there skeptics? There got to be some skeptics questioning this research.
Yeah, first of all, the results here are marginally significant statistically. The researchers were not able to identify the active ingredients in the cleaning products. They just didn't have them available. And that's important because without knowing the cleaning agents, it's hard to pin down the exact mechanism of action.
All right, so I have screen sharing again.
The authors of the study acknowledge this is a major
September the
limitation.
17th.
And they also acknowledge that the
September the 17th, I have screen sharing.
Much about the health of the mother prior to and during pregnancy. So, for instance,
there we go.
Her prior body mass index, her smoking history, education, her alcohol intake, all of those could have been factors that set the baby up for being overweight or obese.
As well. I will say that somebody's just tweeted us saying, listen now, this is interesting. Feeling kind of chuffed about our rather lax approach to cleaning around the house.
The 5-second rule.
Is that the advice here? Yes. To clean less and use eco-friendly products?
Yes, exactly. And in fact, now the researchers say they don't know whether it's the use of eco-friendly products that is why these babies were set up to be ideal body weight. It may be that parents are much more health conscious, but sometimes being health conscious means means nuking the environment, which is obviously not the thing to do. And as I have already said, I've been a big believer in the 5-second rule all my life.
Can I tell you one? This is
Sure.
totally off script here, but I can just, on that 5-second rule note, tell you about the most hilarious photograph. I'm going to tweet this so you can see it. A woman who I've never heard of on Twitter posts a picture today with the caption of the picture that says, "I don't think the 5-second rule applies to this." It is a photograph of a very young toddler, I'm going to say maybe an 11, 12, 13-month-old kid, wearing a shirt and no pants, nothing else, who has made their way into a cupboard that contained a box of Lucky Charms. The cereal has spilled all over the floor. The child has clearly sat itself down in said cereal and is now leaning into the cupboard with a great prime view of those baby buttocks covered in cereal.
Oh, those Lucky
the
Charms.
The Lucky Charms. Anyway, that's a really fascinating conversation. As always, Brian, thank you for being here.
You bet.
I was Dr. Brian Goldman, host of White Coat Black Art. He's got a new book out, The Power of Kindness, which is published by HarperCollins.
Misplace my steps, so I stare at the moon. I'm feeling some stress, so I wake up at noon.
Toronto's Weaves, and a tune called Grass. Their album Wide Open is on the Polaris shortlist. Tonight is the night that one of the bands on that shortlist will find themselves the winner of the Polaris Prize. You can stream the event. It's happening right here in Toronto. You can stream it at cbcmusic.ca/Polaris. I'm going to hear about a restaurant that you can visit where your waiter is a robot. This will take you into the future in just a moment. First, though, Amber's going to help you get where you're going.
And we have a few lanes blocked here right now on the eastbound side of the 401 in the collectors east of the Allen. Emergence crews are on the scene. It looks like this vehicle fire is out, so that is good news. The bad news is that cleanup is underway and 3 right lanes still blocked off here, causing all sorts of delays. Eastbound 401 east of Westby, 2 left lanes blocked there. Emergency crews dealing with the problem. It's on the shoulder. Better news, and finally, this is really good news for those in South 404. It has reopened from Davis Drive to Wellington. It had been shut for several hours for a collision investigation. The northbound side was also very heavy. Hopefully that will start to improve as well. And you'll find that the DVP and the Gardner and the QEW, all slow routes, and it's just busy with volume. I haven't come across any problems. It's an increasingly automated world, isn't it? Self-driving cars, home assistants that can shop for you. And now, robots that will bring you your sushi. In fact, in what may be a North American first, a Toronto sushi restaurant is using robots to do everything short of crafting those California rolls. Eric Wang is one of the owners of Robo Sushi in North York. All right, Eric, tell me how this works. When I walk into your restaurant, what happens? Who or what approaches me?
Well, when you walk into the restaurant, first of all, you will see the manager robots. They're actually saying hi to you. But sometimes those robots just scare people because nobody's ready for the future thing yet.
Sorry, a manager robot says that to you?
It's like a manicure. Like they feel like and they act like a human.
But they are in fact a robot.
Yes, they are.
And how do people react when they come in and see this?
Oh, well, I guess I have a camera there, so I can upload those videos for people getting scared.
You've seen people who look a little spooked when they're approached by a robot as they come into your restaurant?
Well, it's because nobody's ready. If I in the whole North America, nobody's ready for the robot yet.
Nobody's quite ready for it. Do you have a human there to sort of offset that fear and discomfort that people have?
I have 2 entrances. So the first entrance, when the people walk in, the first 2 things they see is like they look like 80% like human, but they're not human. So nobody, like everyone thought that it's just something like a decoration over there, and then those 2 start talking, so they usually got scared.
And what do they say? Do they say, "Welcome to the restaurant, come take your table," or something like that?
They say, "Welcome to Robo Sushi," when you come in. But when you're leaving, they also start talking too. They will say, "Thank you for coming, Robo Sushi."
All right, and so then I'm at my table where I guess I've had a robot that's guided me to my table.
Like after those 2 robots, you will see another 2 tiny robots, and they are actually couple. One is called Mr. Wu, and the other one is called Miss Peanut. And for these 2 robots, they will bring you to the table, and we also have the human hostess at the front, and they will give you a best option for the table where you're going to sit. So the human hostess will set up the program, and the robot will take you over.
So, okay, I get to my table and I punch in my order on an iPad. Clearly, you got to have some technology interface there. And then what happens?
And then it's like a robot server. They bring the food to your table.
And they bring me my food. Do they have? Does this work smoothly? Or they don't drop? Do I have to take it off a tray, or can they move around?
No, it's not like they're gonna move around. And they have because every time when they bring the food to the table, they already set up to the specific table. And when they are approaching to your table, they will start talking. They will talk to you, say, "This is your order. Please take it." And then once you take the food, all those robots will start talking again. Will say, "Give me a high five," because they have a sensor at the top, and you get a high five. That going to their, they are going back to their own station.
So I guess you've described this well of what it's like in there. I guess I have to ask why. Why did you want to run a restaurant where the waiters and the hosts and the greeting staff and things are all robots?
Well, it's like because these things have already been popular for a while in China and in Japan, and because we were kind of thinking like, why can't we do it here? Like, because none of us gonna spend that much money like traveling to other countries just for robot service. But if we can do it in Canada, when people finish their job and they want to get relaxed, they want to be hang out with the family, having fun, and like, well, maybe we will be the place they can go. They're having fun, and they can enjoy the good quality of the food.
And is it is it working in terms of, do you think people are relaxing with these sort of unusual, unfamiliar interactions with robots serving them their food?
Actually, parents are super relaxing. It's most of in most of the time when family going out to eat their meal, they're always having problems taking care of their kids because they have to spend most of the time watching out their kids.
So parents love it because the kids are so entertained by these robots, they don't need to worry about taking care of them in the restaurant.
Yeah, every time when my robot going somewhere, there's always so many children follow behind.
They're like the little Pied Pipers guiding people around the sushi restaurant.
Yeah.
How do they deal with those difficult, demanding customers? I can imagine a frustrated customer dealing with a human waiter might be even more so dealing with a robot.
Well, that's one of the problems. And the most important problem is so many of our customers asking, how can I tip the robot?
How can I what?
How can I tip the robot?
Oh, how do I tip the robot?
Yeah, I was like, okay, maybe you can give a tip to me. But usually, because recently I've happened, some of the customers that really happy, they quite enjoy that concept.
Well, it's pretty cool of you to tell us about it, Eric. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Eric Wang is a co-owner of Robo Sushi in North York. All right, well, the school bell has rung for the day, but that's we're something we're getting used to. We're all settled back into the swing of school. All this week on Just Jukebox, the theme is songs that reference high school, anywhere in the title, in the lyrics. Bud Hightower wrote in to say, hello, everyone. School Days has been near the top of my list since it was first played on the radio. I liked it so much I bought Chuck Berry's LP, which was a stretch on my measly allowance back then. I still wish I had that record. It would make my day if you would share this gem on the radio. You know, Bud, there's nothing we like more than making someone's day.
Up in the morning and out to school. The teacher is teaching the golden rule. American history, practical man. You study him hard, learn what you can. Ring, ring, golden bell.
Thank you, Doug Hightower, for that jukebox request. All this week we're spinning your picks for songs that reference high school. Songs about high school, email them here and now at cbc.ca. Tweet us at CBC Here and Now. Or call them in to the jukebox phone, 416-205-2700. Jill's Jukebox spins every day at 3:45. And just before the 5:30 news, you pick it, we play it.
This is CBC News. From CBC Toronto, here is the news at 5:30. Good afternoon, I'm Julia Chapman. Right now it's partly cloudy, 26 degrees in downtown Toronto. Here's Amber Pay with a look at your commute.
Well, the good news is that the vehicle fire is now out. The bad news, we still have the right lane blocked on the East 401 collectors east of the Allen.
Thank you very much, Amber. Provincial politicians are now getting some rest after a marathon overnight debate at Queen's Park. The Doug Ford government called an extraordinary midnight sitting to speed up the passage of a bill that cuts the size of Toronto City Council. CBC Toronto's Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley was there.
Angry scenes outside the legislature in the early hours of this morning after people were ejected for shouting during the debate. Toronto City Councillor Kristen Wong-Tam.
The public galleries are completely empty. There is nobody watching. The stealing of democracy in the middle of the night.
Dozens of protesters remain outside, while inside the debate goes on for 7 hours. NDP leader Andrea Horvath.
It's pretty shameful that the only issue that this government will deal with tonight, or this morning in this chamber, is the Premier's grudge match with the City of Toronto and his old political foes.
A few hours later, MPPs are back sparring in question period. Premier Doug Ford.
The police officers that have to work at night, the nurses that have to work at night. I don't know what we were making such a big deal about, because we actually had to work at night.
It's been more than 20 years since the legislature sat through the wee hours like this. That was when the PC government of Mike Harris forced the amalgamation of Metro Toronto. The bill is due for a final vote on Thursday. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, there was some high political drama unfolding at the House of Commons as members of Parliament returned to work there. A GTA MP has crossed the floor. Leona Aleslev, the MP for Aurora Oak Ridges Richmond Hill, announced she's leaving the Liberals for the Conservative Party.
After careful and deliberate consideration, I must withdraw from the government benches to take my seat among the ranks of my Conservative colleagues and join Her Majesty's Royal.
Aleslev is a former captain of the Royal Canadian Air Force. She will be the Conservative Party's critic for global security. In other news, police in Toronto are still looking for a suspect from Barrie, who officers believe hopped on a GO train to Toronto this morning. Commuters may have noticed an increased police presence, including some tactical officers at Union Station because of the investigation. Here's Toronto Police spokesperson Katrina Aragante.
Barrie Police contacted Toronto Police advising us that there is a possible suspect from a robbery investigation that they had initially started and could be traveling our direction. I don't have any indication of any public safety concern.
The suspect is described as a male in his 20s. Officers say he does not appear to be armed and he may be injured. Well, a laneway in Kensington Market is falling into serious disrepair because, according to the city, it belongs to a man who died 118 years ago. As CBC Toronto's Lisa Shing reports, the people who use the dilapidated space say someone needs to step in to fix up the lane.
The alley at College and Borden Streets in Kensington Market is sandwiched between a school and residential garages, including Christine Nielsen's.
Every single day is an axle-busting adventure.
The laneway has municipal signs up around it, but it's not owned by the city, so garbage has piled up. There are plenty of potholes, and when it rains, the storm sewers don't drain. Nielsen says she complained to the city, but staff wrote a letter saying the alley is owned by someone who bought it in 1861 and died in 1900.
Unless he's the longest surviving person in Canadian history. It's amusing, but it's also super irritating because we pay taxes.
Councillor Joe Cressy says this is just one of many privately owned alleys over which the city has no jurisdiction.
That's the city of Ball. We had hundreds of laneways that are privately owned that are now used as community laneways but not maintained as public streets.
He says one of the city's options is to expropriate the land, but that could take years. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
The time is now 5:35. You're listening to Here and Now on CBC Radio 1. Let's go back to Amber with a look at the commute.
On the eastbound 401 collector lanes east of the Allen, we still have the right lane blocked off here. It was an earlier vehicle fire in the process still of cleaning this up. Better news farther to the east, eastbound 401, just past Westmead, a collision there has cleared out of the way. Also gone, a collision that was on the ramp from Eglinton to the eastbound 403. That's out of the way. In case you missed it, southbound 404 reopened Davis Drive to Wellington, and that had been closed for a few hours for a collision investigation. The Gardner and the QEW busy with volume, same with the Don Valley Parkway. Here's Colette with your forecast.
And it's 26 degrees out there, still feeling like we're in the low 30s, however, and it's going to be just a lovely evening. 8 p.m., about 25 degrees, still feeling like about 32, though. And then overnight tonight, clear skies, a low of 19, probably a bit of patchy fog developing once again, otherwise clear skies. Then into Tuesday, the high 28, a mix of sun and cloud to start the day off, a little more sunshine in the afternoon than what we'll start with. And by Wednesday, you're going to find a real change in the weather pattern in terms of the temperatures, things cooling down. There'll be lots of sunshine, but the high on Wednesday, just 21.
All right, thank you very much, Colette. Well, it's a situation many students in this country can't even imagine, risking your life to go to school. But a Toronto student did just that, and now, after fleeing her home country, she's one step closer to her dream of becoming a doctor. Our Taylor Simmons has that story.
Shameen Mamadi flips through books at Covenant House. She says the Toronto Youth Homeless Shelter saved her.
I felt like I was reborn in Covenant House, and they gave me another life.
Mamadi grew up in Afghanistan and wasn't allowed to go to school.
It was like, no, education is not important for a girl.
She says when the Taliban fell in her city, she became a student for the first time.
Always when I close my eyes, it feels a sunny day, a bright day, a very hopeful day.
Fleeing more violence, her family landed in Pakistan as refugees. At the same time, her brother became ill and passed away.
If I see a family that is struggling as a doctor, I could help them. And that became my dream.
That dream led her to Toronto and Covenant House. With help from staff, she was accepted to Centennial College's nursing program. She begins her residency this month, and back in Pakistan,
a lot of women, they come and tell my mother, now, after seeing Shameen, I want to work hard and send all my 3 girls to school.
After obtaining her degree, Mamadi plans to go to medical school, a dream finally coming into focus with nothing left to stop her. Taylor Simmons, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's take a look at sports now. NHL preseason action continues today. There are 8 games on the schedule tonight in Calgary. The Flames battle their provincial rival Edmonton. The Winnipeg Jets host Minnesota, and the Montreal Canadiens welcome New Jersey. The Leafs will play the Ottawa Senators tomorrow night. And the Toronto Blue Jays and the Baltimore Orioles kick off a 3-game series tonight at Camden Yards. Ryan Baraki starts for the Blue Jays. They're coming off a series win, actually, over the New York Yankees last week. That is news and sports, Jill.
That's your lead story.
At 5:39.
A little bit of love in the New York Times today for one of Canada's great filmmakers. I thought it was worth pointing this out. You know, a lot of people are saying, including this piece that I'll tweet out, people can have a look, talking about the upcoming fall movie season, which some people think of as the most exciting movie time of the year. A lot of the Oscar contenders start showing up at festivals like the one that just wrapped up here and then in theaters in the coming months. Anyway, people are saying that the film lineup that's in store for the next couple of months is going to be unprecedented in terms of the roles and strong roles, both in front of and behind the camera for women. So with that sort of setup, the New York Times decided to ask some prominent women in film who their inspirations were. And I thought it was neat to see that Maggie Gyllenhaal and Keira Knightley, both actors for whom I have a lot of time, and they both separately cited Sarah Polley. Just loved her work, thought she has a really unique voice, found her voice starting out as an actor, but finding her way into directing, and they gave her all kinds of love, which I thought was worth repeating.
Absolutely. absolutely.
Yeah.
The Sweet Thereafter was the movie that got me hooked on Sarah Polly.
That was an Adam Egoyan film, right?
It was. And she was a teenager.
In
It
that
came out
movie.
in the 90s at some point,
Yeah.
and she was amazing in it for her age, well beyond her years.
And Away from Her is just so moving. It's such a powerful film.
And the stories we tell. Did you see that? That's one of my favorites.
I had shared a really special moment with her. I was about to interview her in Ottawa on a television program, a political television program. She was in Ottawa
Yes, because
lobbying
Sarah Polly
politicians.
has got her own political activism chops,
She
too.
was in Ottawa to lobby politicians, and she came on the program that I was hosting that day. And in the commercial break, as we were setting up, I told her how much I loved Away from Her. I had just seen it. And we began to talk about dementia and the nature of love. And I told her a personal anecdote about someone I knew whose marriage struggling through this same scenario as in the film. And the two of us brought each other almost to tears just before we had to come on and do this political interview. And I think that it just speaks to the kind of woman she is. We made an instant connection, and she was so moved by the fact that her work moved me. And so I understand where these women are coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Hear, hear. So I'll tweet out the link so people can have a look if you haven't seen it already. Sarah Polly getting all kinds of love from some of the big and beloved movie stars in Hollywood today. All right, well, coming up in about 18 minutes is your next newscast. Susan Bonner, what's coming up on the World at 6?
Well, Justin Trudeau wasn't feeling the love from one of his MPs from Ontario, now a member of the Conservative caucus, and sitting with Her Majesty's loyal opposition. And it's quite a start to MPs returning after their summer break, and we'll tell you all about that tonight. How this really sets the stage for a very interesting year ahead. It's 1 year to just a little over a year till the next federal election, but it feels a little bit like the political moves are underway. So we begin with that tonight, and we also look at what's going on in the United States with the, on Thursday there was supposed to be a vote to proceed with Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee, but that story has exploded with allegations from a woman that stem back almost 40 years, saying she was assaulted by Donald Trump's nominee, Brett Kavanaugh. He denies it. It's quite a scene in Washington as all sides try to decide how to proceed with this. Now it looks like the vote's on hold, but we'll keep you posted on that one. And we wrap up our show by looking at a feature on minorities. There's been lots of talk about minorities on camera and the push to have them in our television productions and in films representing the population as it exists. But what about behind the scenes, the people who produce these? Well, we have a feature look at that tonight in advance of the Emmys, which are
tonight, indeed. All right, lots to listen for. As always, thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Susan Bonner, your host of The World at 6, coming your way, well, in about 16 minutes' time here on CBC Radio 1. Amber Kay is keeping an eye on the commute.
And we still have an issue here on the eastbound side of the 401 in the collectors, just east of the L, and the right lane was blocked off here with some emergency crews. That's where we had an earlier vehicle fire. And problems west on the 401, they have cleared out of the way by Avenue Road. The eastbound 401 situation at Westmead, that one has cleared out of the way and all lanes have reopened. We have a new problem though, westbound QEW, west of Copra, left lane, that's blocked to the collision. There is a tow truck on the scene. Hopefully that will be cleared away soon. And earlier troubles along the Gardner Expressway westbound at the 427, they're long gone. Still busy out of the downtown core and into the city as well as getting slower. Don Valley Parkway 404, not aware of any troubles except just wanted to mention again, southbound 404, it has reopened Davis Drive to Wellington.
A shocker at the start of the fall session of Parliament. Leona Alislav, the Liberal MP for Aurora Oak Ridges Richmond Hill, crossed the floor to join the Conservative Party. She's on the line. Tell me why you wanted to do this. Join the Conservative Party.
Well, essentially, I was looking at what was going on both in the country and in the world, and I believe that not all points in history are equal, and we find ourselves at a tipping point, and we need to address some foundational challenges, and I needed to be part of the team that was going to be committed to addressing those foundational generational challenges.
When did you make this decision?
Well, I swore an oath when I became an officer in the Canadian Forces to serve and defend this country. And so I have taken that as part of who I am, and I am constantly asking myself whether or not I'm doing all I can to serve my country. So I think about these things every day, but I came to this decision basically when I stood up in the House and I knew that this is what I needed to do.
On the 20th of July, you welcomed the Prime Minister to Aurora and tweeted that you were, quote, proud to be part of this team as we head into 2019. So what's changed in the last, less than 2 months?
Well, the Prime Minister is still the Prime Minister, and I'm still a proud Canadian and therefore proud of a Prime Minister. And when a Prime Minister comes to your riding to meet with you and your constituency, then you're proud to be Canadian.
Okay, so you're now a member of the Conservative Party, but you're saying that you're proud of the Prime Minister.
The office of the Prime Minister as a Canadian. But, I mean, there are things that are fundamental challenges that we need to address, and so I am looking to be part of a team that is focused on delivering on those challenges, be it tax reform, be it employment reform, federal infrastructure, comprehensive foreign policy, defense and security things.
You've stepped away from the party that has a majority in the House. How do you feel about the possibility that you might not be able to get much done in the opposition?
It's about having a public conversation and defining the priorities, and I couldn't have that public conversation if I were a member of the Liberal Party. And so I need to
Why not?
Because it would be dishonorable, because it would undermine the government, and that would go against my code of conduct.
There's no room for open conversation and debate and discussion within the Liberal Party?
Oh, it's not a question of that. It's about having a public conversation, and you don't publicly have a conversation that criticizes the government if you're a member of the government. According to my code of conduct.
There are a lot of people who vote for parties and not necessarily for particular candidates. What would you say to constituents perhaps listening who voted for you in part because you ran as a Liberal?
I would say that political parties are made up of the people who are in it at the time and what the country needs at the time. And so that we, as responsible citizens, have to always look at those conditions. And so the world has changed significantly in the last 3 years. We're facing a period of unprecedented global instability. And so therefore, I need to be able to look at my constituents and myself and know that I've done everything I can with the sacred obligation that I have to them as their member of parliament to represent them to the best of my ability.
You were named Shadow Cabinet Secretary for Global Security. That's a position that didn't exist before today. Is that a position you advocated for in your discussions with the Conservative Party?
Well, I'm honored that they would ask me to serve in that capacity because I am very focused on foreign affairs and defense policy, and I believe that some of the greatest challenges that are facing Canada right now are in those two areas.
So what is it that now that you can speak publicly, and what is it that you want to say about the current government and what you want to do in your new, having crossed the floor, your new capacity? What is it that you'd like to say and do about the current government?
Well, I'm looking forward to working with strong federal leadership under Andrew Scheer and, of course, the Conservative team to be able to discuss how exactly the Conservative Party can address some of these fundamental challenges, and at the same time we'll have the opportunity to have a public conversation about just what the challenges facing the nation are.
So nothing specific about those public challenges now?
Well, I look forward to working with my new team, but I think that my actions speak for themselves.
All right. Thank you for the conversation. We'll leave it there.
Well, thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Leona Alislev is the former Liberal MP for Aurora Oak Ridge's Richmond Hill. She crossed the floor today and is now a member of the Conservative Party of Canada.
Alright, so finally that has downloaded. Alright. Okay, I'll stop recording now. Actually, hold on a minute. $173, 173, 173, right here. $169. Alright, I clicked on open. Clicked on install.
It's really good to talk to you about this. As I say, an international conversation after this image went viral. You were just the person to talk to about it here in Canada. Thanks so much, Krista. Thank you. Krista Duchesne is an Olympian, a marathon runner, known as Canada's Marathon Mom. The final thought that that runner had to say about in the article when she wrote about it, she said, "This picture's allowed women to say, when we become mothers, our self-identity doesn't change. We shouldn't have to lose who we were before we were mothers. Now certainly don't." Your thoughts on that and anything else you heard on the program, always welcome. Tweet us, send us an email, anytime. That leaves us not much time for you, Amber. Last word on how things are going. Let's start with Lightning. Welcome to eastbound 401 collectors east of the Allen Road in Lucy after an early vehicle fire. Thank you, Amber. 26 is the temperature now in the city. It's freeze warm with the humidity down to 18 overnight tonight and clear skies. More heat, more humidity for your Tuesday. 28 degrees. I'm Jill Deacon. Thanks for listening to Here and Now. We'll do it all again tomorrow from 3 to 6. The buzz is loud and clear.
Alright, so I'm going to stop recording now.
Each week, CBC Music reveals some of Canada's best new tracks that you will not miss.
Alright, so power.
Government must be challenged openly and for me